Welcome everyone. I'm Tracy Fitzpatrick and I'll be your moderator today. Thank you so much for joining us here at Netcom Learning, a market leader in promoting lifelong learning, training, and talent development solutions. We're very excited to host today's event, Maximizing AI Potential with Microsoft Cloud. Presenting today's topic is Brent Dawson. Brent is a Microsoft certified trainer with over 20 years of experience in the technology industry. Brent is also a Microsoft Dynamics architect who specializes in information security architecture, Azure DevOps, CISSP, SQL Server Administration, and architecture and enterprise architecture. He's delivered comprehensive Microsoft infrastructure and security training, giving his students the tools they need to build, maintain, and secure their Microsoft network infrastructure. Now, please bear in mind that this is an overview of a very robust topic. We offer a collection of technical and business courses that can be tailored to your specific requirements. If you are interested in a further discussion, you can make an appointment with our learning consultants through our website at netcomlearning.com. Today's session is also being recorded, so you'll get free access to the recording in the next 24 hours via email. Netcom Learning helps customers build innovative learning organizations by achieving a smarter workforce, adapting to change, and driving growth. We do this with a broad catalog of offerings, developing customized learning plans, and our global delivery capabilities. Since 1998, we have been empowering organizations with our managed learning services to help them reach optimal performance results and address challenges. We do have 9 practice areas in which we specialize. They encompass people, process, and technology training. Today's presentation is from the Data and AI practice area. Netcom Learning offers a comprehensive training portfolio of courses for the topic being covered today. Our upcoming classes include various trainings on the given courses. You can also access a variety of marketing assets, such as the free training and blogs, by clicking on the available event handout. These offerings can be found with a simple search on our website at netcomlearning.com. Today's session will cover learning about tools like Azure AI, cognitive services, and Azure Machine Learning, which are reshaping various industries with optimizing business operations and enhancing customer experiences. In addition, participants will get guidance on effectively preparing for the AI 102 certification course and exam in today's session. And now I would like to give you a quick overview of the logistics before we get started. To begin with, you do have the option to view in full screen by clicking on the full screen button on the right side of the GoToWebinar viewer. Simply hit the escape key to exit the full screen. Everyone has been muted except for our presenters. Feel free to submit any questions you have for the presenters here in the questions pane, and we will address them at the end of the session. And to get the best out of today's events, we've included the slides, courses we talk about, and marketing assets in the handout section of your GoToWebinar viewer. You may refer to them at any time to get a better understanding of today's topic. And we do realize that some of you may have to leave early and want to let you know that as you do leave the session today, you will be presented with a short survey. We would like to request for you to take a quick moment to participate in that survey. Your feedback really helps us understand your learning experience and improve our future sessions for you. The survey answers are measured on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 representing outstanding and 1 representing poor. And now I'd like to pass this over to our trainer to present today's topic. Hey Brent, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's masterclass on maximizing AI potential with Microsoft Cloud. As was mentioned, my name is Brent Dawson. I'm a certified trainer with Microsoft and have been for over 25 years. I've been in the IT industry for 35 and have seen a lot of technologies in my time. I started working with AI. My full-time position is as a solution architect in Dynamics 365 finance and operations. And so I've started using AI a lot to assist and help with supply chain management and customer insights and so on, and being able to use the AI tools such as OpenAI and Azure AI to expand the capabilities of Microsoft's business applications. So today we're going to look at 4 different areas. The first area deals with the Microsoft AI ecosystem. So we're going to look at how Microsoft has implemented their AI tools into their Azure platform and how they are interacting and working with other applications in the Microsoft sphere. We'll also take a look then at some case studies around how the tool has actually been implemented by organizations around the world. We're then going to take a look at how to build applications or AI applications with Azure. Next, we'll then take a look a little bit at how to optimize some of the workloads that exist in the Azure cloud. And then lastly, everybody's favorite topic, security and compliance, and how we can manage those sorts of things from the Azure stack in our AI solutions. So as far as an introduction to the Microsoft ecosystem, the first thing we need to sort of understand is, what is artificial intelligence? Now, to me, I know that artificial intelligence is basically defined as predicting outcomes and reorganizing patterns based on historic data, also for recognizing abnormal events and making decisions, interpreting visual input, understanding language and engaging in conversations, and extracting information from sources to gain knowledge. Now, one of my favorite topics in the whole world around artificial intelligence is the fact of AI and intellectual property. And one of the things that is very apparent to me is 2 things. One, the idea of artificial intelligence is sort of misleading. Unless you are, Data from Star Trek Enterprise, to me, artificial intelligence isn't really a thing until you have emotion. Otherwise, the systems are very black and white. It's very high-level machine learning is the way I look at it. And so we need to train the systems to understand how to be able to do certain activities and certain tasks. Now, the advantage, of course, of using the technologies that we have is that they can do them much faster than the human can. And so you can go through things much, much quicker and be able to identify things. If any of you have ever seen any videos, there's 2 that always come to mind. There's one where they have an AI tool that is checking for eggs. So when, an egg gets laid by a chicken and it goes to a manufacturing plant to get, boxed up and sent to the grocery store, they run them through this laser device that uses AI as a way to detect a bad egg or not a grade A egg. And so it will use a little puff of air to take those eggs out of the transport system, and those will get used for like commercial purposes, so like bakeries and stuff like that. And all the really good eggs go to the grocery store and get sold that way. So that's one way of using AI to very quickly look at an egg and say, oh, not good, good, not good, good. And another way is when you're doing inspections of items that have been manufactured. And so you'll use artificial intelligence to measure tolerances, as an example, to make sure that something is within a specific tolerance of what it was designed to be built at. But the artificial intelligence tools really, on a day-to-day basis, help us do things quicker, gives us insights to information or knowledge that we never really thought about in previous ways. And it gives us the ability now, by using things like OpenAI, ChatGPT, and all those other sorts of tools, to be able to create content from ideas that other people have created that you can then say, okay, oh, I like that idea, let's expand on it, and be able to produce much more information related to something that the system is able to produce. I recently wrote a book on being a successful solution architect in D365 finance and operations. Trust me, it'll cure your insomnia unless you're an architect. In fact, it probably will cure your insomnia if you're an architect too. But when you read the book, there are places in there where because I needed to to make sure that I was looking at things from a very specific way, I would use AI as a tool to help me understand how to formulate a document or formulate an idea. And so I would type it, I would put it into the AI tool, and I would have it analyze it and tell me, okay, well, you've plagiarized this from someplace else, even though I didn't really, but the language was sort of the same. Or it would come back and say, okay, well, your grammar is really bad, and we think you should rewrite it this way, and those sorts of things. So it is good in the sense that it can help you improve the way that you do things, but primarily from an artificial intelligence point of view, it's being able to do things that a natural human does, but much faster. So some of the common artificial intelligence workloads that the Microsoft AI ecosystem uses are things like machine learning. Well, we've already discussed that, but this is predictive models that we use when we're doing statistics and that stuff, but it's the foundation of artificial intelligence. If you don't have machine learning, you can't have AI. Anomaly detection, right? So we would go through and detect unusual patterns, do preemptive actions. So instead of cracking an egg and going, oh my God, there's blood all over the inside of it, we can determine that before we crack the egg open, because AI can analyze the egg. Computer vision, so we can look at and interpret visual input from things like cameras, images, videos. There's been a raft. I live in the United Kingdom. I live in London, and there's been a raft of break-ins, much like in most of the world lately. There's been a lot of shoplifting and theft from stores and that sort of stuff. And so we're now using the passport database to do facial recognition to catch people who are shoplifting. And that sort of thing. Many years ago in Vancouver, in Canada, when the Canucks lost to the Boston Bruins in the Stanley Cup final, they had a riot. And so they were using AI tools from driver's licenses and ID files that were handed out by the government to identify people who were rioting and bring them to justice. So the computer vision capabilities that we have allow us to do a lot of those sorts of features. Natural language processing, applications that will be able to write or written spoken languages or interpret spoken languages, as well as to engage in dialogues with other humans. And lastly, knowledge mining, being able to extract information. So one of the things, as an example, that I use natural language processing for, as I mentioned before, I can take something that I've written and I run it through the natural processing engine and have it analyze it to tell me whether or not it's grammatically correct or it's logically correct, or that sort of thing. But I also one time decided that I was going to analyze my language. So one of the things that's considerably different from, so I'm originally from Canada, but one of the things that's considerably different when you live in the UK from in Canada and also from the United States is how you use certain words or certain phrases. And so I was curious one night, I was actually bored on a Saturday night, and I thought, I wonder what it would be like to do an analysis of my language then versus my language now. So I took all of my WhatsApp messages and text messages and all that sort of stuff, and I put them into indexed or collated text files, and I ran them through the natural language processor. And I discovered that there are certain words and certain phrases that I use now more in the UK than I ever did in Canada. For whatever strange reason, I use the word brilliant a lot, and I don't know why. But the word brilliant can be used in a number of different forms. It could be sarcastic, oh, brilliant. Or it can be excited, oh, brilliant, and that sort of stuff. So depending upon how you use the word will inflect a different thing. And of course, there's all sorts of different uses of it all over the UK. But after I ran it through the natural language processor, I discovered that I used the word brilliant in the UK 95% more than I ever did when I lived in Canada. Why I did that, I don't know. I was bored one Saturday night, but hey, you know what? That's how you learn how to do stuff, is you just play with things. So it was an interesting experiment, and it showed me two things. One, it showed me how I speak now versus when I lived in Canada, but it also shows me how the tools can be used to help do that analysis and give you information about yourself in this particular case, which you never really thought about before. So there's some basics that we need to understand around how the AI ecosystem works. So first of all, it runs in Azure, okay? And so we need to follow the Azure configurations and standard setup for Azure. But first and foremost, the Azure as a platform that's cloud-based, it's Microsoft's implementation, and we know three things about it. We use it for data storage, we use it for computing services, and we use it for application services, in this case, AI components. The nice thing is that it says it's scalable and it's reliable. Microsoft has a 4.9 uptime for Azure. Usually it's pretty good, although the last couple of years there's been a couple of issues, but generally speaking, it's usually very reliable. But based on your subscription and the subscription type, will give you access to certain types of storage levels and computing capabilities and services. And one of the nice things about the Azure components is that Azure AI is part of that ecosystem. Now, there are two different sets of AI tools that are available as part of Azure. One is free and one isn't. So the Azure AI tools, which give you these four services, machine learning, cognitive services, the bot service, and Azure cognitive services, those are all included as part of your basic Azure subscription. So I actually teach something called Azure AI in a day. And it's sort of a combination of two things. The first part of the day is sort of going through the Azure components, the different tools that we have, including, the bot service and machine learning and all that sort of stuff. And then in the afternoon, because it can get really boring if you just do techie stuff all day, is I teach people how to use AI to do things on an everyday basis. One of the things that I get them to do in this class is, because Python is quite a very large, popular application in the AI sphere, I get people to use AI to help them write a mini quiz program. And what this program does is that when it runs, it clears the screen, the DOS window, DOS prompt, command prompt. And show you how old I am, I still call it DOS. So it clears the command prompt, and then it says, hi, I'm this application, please enter a question. And it'll allow you to enter as many questions in the quiz as you want. So let's say that I want to enter 4 questions. So it says, how many questions do you want to answer? Or how many questions would you like to provide? And I'll say 4. And it'll say, okay, what is the question 1? So you type in question 1, where is Brent from? The answer, Canada. And then you do question 2, where does Brent live? The answer, London. And 3 and 4 and so forth, okay? And after that, after you've entered them in, it will ask you what your name is. And you type in your name, my name is Brent. And it will do a number of things in the background. It will scramble the questions so they come out in random order. And it will keep track of all of the people that have written the quiz. And it will tell you what your score is. It will tell you what your score is compared to the other users. It will tell you the average score once the last person has written it. And it will tell you what the highest and the lowest score is. And so basically we use tools like Bard or ChatGPT, which are based off of OpenAI, which is another tool. We'll talk about that in a second. And really what we're doing is going out and using the tools to help us build an application, okay? And usually I find that most people find that quite interesting. They get very creative when they come up with how they're tweaking the way that the application runs. But the nice thing is that we're actually using the AI ecosystem that's available to us to build this application, okay? Another thing that I do is I usually will have the students go out and write a novel, say 3 pages of a novel, in a certain style, right? So I'll get them to go in, and just before they use the AI tool, I'll get them to write a paragraph as an example, okay? And they can write any type of paragraph that they want. And then what I do is I get them to use the language tool, the natural language processor, and I'll say, okay, I want you to take this paragraph that you wrote, and I want you to enter it into the natural language processor, but I want you to have them rewrite it in a different style. So I might have it rewritten in Chaucer, or I might have it rewritten in J.K. Rowling, like Harry Potter, or I might have them rewrite it like Oscar Wilde or something like that. I even had it one time, and ChatGTP won't do this anymore unless you put it in unrestricted mode. But I even had it write somebody's paragraph once in Donald Trump, the style of Donald Trump, the style of Barack Obama, and the style of the Pope, and produce some really interesting results. But the long and short of it is that we were using the tools that are available that are already in the Azure AI stack to be able to do a lot of these types of tasks. And as it says here, these are the 4 main ones that are part of Azure and sort of what each one is specifically designed to do. The cognitive services one does have some restrictions on it because you have to have a special permission to be able to use cognitive services for things like picture picture analysis and facial recognition and that sort of stuff. Mostly because, of course, they don't want just, and I know it sounds bad, but they don't want the average person being able to do facial recognition because there's a lot of people will do bad things. So you have to have special permissions for those particular activities in cognitive services. The other types of tools that are available in here, which are not free, and you have to have in fact, at this point in time, you have to be invited into it, is Microsoft has released the OpenAI component for Azure. And so it's quite expensive. It's very resource intensive. And at this point in time, very few people have access to it. Now, I am lucky enough to be able to have access to it for 2 reasons. 1, I teach AI. 2, I teach AI for a rather large training company in the UK, and I'm the only person in that company who does teach the artificial intelligence courses. So Microsoft has given me access to OpenAI through my own Azure service subscription. Just as an aside, if you're a Microsoft trainer, you get Azure subscription every month for free, up to, I think it's $200 US a month or something like that. And so you can use the OpenAI tools. But I had to sign an agreement as long as my left arm to say that I wasn't going to use it to do bad things. I was only ever going to use it to learn how to use it and to do training. So cognitive services is, again, the ability to be able to understand and look at language, look at other types of components that make up how language works, how graphics work, and that sort of thing. And the AI application resources that exist in Azure subscription will have a standalone resource, and they are the general cognitive services resource, and they can be used against multiple services. So you can consume them in one of 2 ways. You can either consume them directly in Azure, which is generally not the best way to do it, but that's one way of doing it. Or you could use it as a REST API, REST endpoint. And if you're going to be doing it as a REST endpoint, you must have an authorization key or an authorization token to be able to execute and use that application. So as you can see here, in this case, it would be HTTP East US, which will give you access to the service, and then you'd have to have a security key or an authorization token. With this, we can use it to help create predictive models. And this is one way of doing it where we're going to find relationships in data. So in this particular case, this person is using the cognitive services to find Bellis peonies. And so, in this case, we have a botanist. They collect a bunch of sample flowers. Each sample has a set of features and a label that has the specific species associated to it. And then the algorithm will go through and find all the relationships between the features and the labels. So it'll look at all the flowers. It'll tell us what are tulips, which ones are roses, which ones are peonies, and that sort of stuff. And the model will then encapsulate and group together and make predictions based on the label of new samples to determine whether or not it's the right type of flower. So this is the same sort of scenario that you would do when you're working with predictive models for things like cancer analysis. When I did my master's degree in data sciences, one of the assignments that we had in one of the courses when we were dealing with big data is that we had a very large data set that was made up of cancer patients. And what we were trying to do is that we were using predictive models, an oral neural network, ANN, to be able to predict the percentage of people who would get breast cancer. And then we did another analysis of the test to predict the chances of an individual getting prostate cancer. And so based on the values and the numbers and test results and all the rest of it, we could actually say that based on the values of the result sets that we had in that data set, I think it had something like 160,000 rows or something like that, that we were probably, that we could guarantee that 80% of the people that was in that test result set did not have cancer of either type. And when we actually looked at what the results were based on the comparisons between the real results in real life plus what we did, we were pretty close, or at least I was anyways. I was off by about 3%, which is not too bad in the data analysis world. Lastly, in terms of the way that the ecosystem is set up, we start off at the very top with the Azure Machine Learning components, the basis for everything. And then we can have two sorts of machine learning formatting that we have access to. So we have unsupervised machine learning, and we have supervised machine learning. Now, the big difference between the two and the way that the system functions against that data is supervised machine learning has training data that is including labels that the system can understand. Okay? So as an example here, we've got classifications such as persons, bicycle, car, truck, that sort of thing, right? And so it makes it easy to be able to classify data based on those labels, because it can look at it and go, oh, this is a person, oh, this is a car, oh, this is a bicycle. The unsupervised training is when you don't have any labels. And so what it will do is that instead of breaking things out into individual items based on its classification, it will cluster and group things together. So it'll look at stuff, and in this particular case, it'll analyze things, and it will group them together based on some sort of similarity, right? So it's decided that motorcycles and cars have some sort of group together. Lorries or delivery trucks and convertibles, for some reason, have something in common with each other, and scooters and electric cars have something together. Well, the analysis says that it looked at vehicles with similar emissions and fuel efficiency characteristics and separated them into clusters. Okay, the motorcycle and the car, I can sort of see that. The scooters and the electric car, 100% I can see that. I'm not quite sure about the convertible and the delivery truck. I'm not quite sure how that has worked, but maybe they're saying that the convertible is a sports car, and therefore who produces higher emissions, and it would be closer to what a delivery truck is. In any case, obviously, it's a way for us to be able to group them together. So that's the high level configuration or ecosystem that Microsoft provides in the Azure platform. Now, that's just the sort of the tip of the iceberg, right? There's all sorts of other things. So there's customer insights, there's marketing insights, there's sales insights, there's insights that are available for supply chain management. There's insights available for Business Central now. So there's all sorts of, there's Copilot, OpenAI. There's all sorts of different capabilities and tools that the software has given us that allows us to be able to work in a number of different ways. So the next thing I want to take a quick look at for a few slides is some examples of real-world AI implementations. Now, because of the fact that it's part of Azure and it's easier to access and stuff, there are a number of different applications that are available to us in terms of being able to place data. And one of these here is a school that has, a museum rather, that has implemented AI as a way to enhance exhibits. Okay, so if you were to go online and you couldn't go to, let's say you went to the Tate Modern Museum, right? Very modern artworks, that sort of stuff. Or you go to the public library in New York. There's a lot of famous artwork there and that sort of stuff. It's possible for you to be able to go into the library and see them, right? But let's say that there's a situation where you're not able to. So using artificial intelligence, they can now produce exhibits using different components such as web cameras, speakers and that sort of stuff, as well as tools such as Raspberry Pi or Windows 10 as a way to present information and post data to users. So in this example, when a person walks in, they're using their face as a way to generate their identity, right? So a photo is taken when their faces are present in front of their webcam. They have a speaker which is used to play, obviously, the audio descriptions of everything that they're looking at. And through their webcam and the components that are actually on the exhibit devices, they can produce things such as pictures of things in the museum. They can, do live video and video streams and all that sort of stuff. And that can all be based around how you have registered to work that system or use that system against the library or against the art gallery and so forth. And in this particular case, what they're using is cognitive services to figure out your face and a list of faces and a way to create similar faces and all that sort of stuff. And what it's doing is it's building a collage of people who have been visiting the museum as a way to work as an art installation, right? Now, obviously, you have to approve this. You have to sign a waiver that says that that I'm okay to have my face as part of this. But it's using these capabilities to detect your face and put them into different pieces of artwork. Here's sort of the panoramic view or the table view of all of the data that it's recording. And what this information is it's recording all of the information that it's recorded through the cameras and all the other sort of stuff. And it's stored them in an Excel table. Of course, everything goes into Excel nowadays. It seems to be the most popular tool on the planet. And it gives you the ability to sort, filter, and analyze the data. And in this particular example, we're using Excel 2016 to do the data analysis. So in here, we would go into a new query under the data tools. We would select that we want to pull data from Azure, and we're going to particularly point to Microsoft Azure table storage. And again, this is all the data that's been recorded in Azure in the cloud, and you're being able to pull it into Excel to do a bit of an analysis. But you don't only just have Excel to be able to use this tool. You also have the ability of Power BI. So in this particular case, given the volume of data that they've collected, they needed to be able to do something else that was a much better way to show how the data was impacting the way that the library was done or that the museum was working or that users were interacting and so forth. And so without having to do any data conversion, you could directly connect to the Azure tables the same way as you did in Excel and be able to extract that information and produce a report using Power BI Desktop that then you could post, right? And so here's an example of looking at, this is last time of sightings, and it's giving you values in terms of the count of age by age, if this is people that are looking at exhibits and so forth. And it can tell you happiness from neutral, okay? So, so in this particular case, what it's doing is it's saying, okay, I'm taking a picture of somebody with their webcam. How many people are happy and how many people are neutral? Well, the happiness isn't very good, right? So obviously people weren't very impressed with what they were looking at. That's maybe one way of saying, oh, okay, maybe we need to change the exhibit. But it's another example of, it's very basic, of course, but it's another way of being able to look at data that you've collected, run it through a machine learning tool, and have it produce a result set. So in conclusion of this particular exhibit, this is using the Universal Windows platform. And so it was using IoT devices to help collect the data. And then it had the use of cognitive services so that it could provide intelligence about the different patrons as they interact with the exhibits. The Azure App Service was being used for storage, for hosting and analysis. And the solution is entirely open source and lives at GitHub in what's called the Intelligent Museum Exhibits. And it's a Patreon interactive engagement. And I know that you'll be able to access the slide deck after the presentation today. In the bottom right-hand corner, I've put a link to the particular location that you can read up about this particular project. But it's a really cool little way of showing you how you can take the components that you've done, that you have available to you, using things like IoT devices and whatnot, but being able to record the information and successfully use that information as a way to produce a result set for something that, you know, you may or may not have been able to do as a human, but a lot less quickly as a person, right? I mean, you know, in the old days, you'd have somebody stand there with a clipboard and a paper and a pencil and look at a person and go, smile, smile, frown, frown, smile, you know, and then add up all the frowns, add up all the numbers and go, oh, okay, we were at this percentage and this percentage. Now the system can do it automatically using AI. There are a number of other real-world implementations that AI has as well, and it's industry changing in the way that AI is being functioned or is functioning around the world. And these are just some. I mean, there's tons of them. I've worked on 10 of them myself. But here's some larger ones that you may, some companies you may have heard of. So NOV, N-O-V, which is National Oil Well Varco, they used AI to maximize profitability, optimize manufacturing processes, and help to shorten supply chains, right? And overall, the technology uses the expertise of the machinists internally to help train autonomous systems that can help employee training and identify new efficiencies in the system. So using the tools to help improve the functionality and the efficiency of the system, of the company. PepsiCo, and obviously you've heard of Pepsi, developed an autonomous AI solution to help increase efficiencies while maintaining consistency and quality in Cheetos manufacturing. I'm Canadian. I eat cheesies, which are slightly different. They're harder. They're not, and they're crunchier. And personally, I think they're way better. But anyway, but they're looking specifically at Cheetos manufacturing, and so they have sensors that will detect any issues during manufacturing, and a trained AI tool that can make recommendations to adapt the settings. Then we also have the company Hochtief. Hochtief is a European company, and it's using the Azure Bot framework as well as cognitive services to help gather information or field information and report it during large-scale construction projects. And this is a way for us to help reduce risk of errors by improving communication and documentation of the project. Schneider Electric minimizes costs and worker risk using IoT analytics solutions, which are using machine learning from Azure as well as Azure IoT, and allows them to pinpoint repairs on remote equipment, so you can not have as many issues with people getting hurt. And lastly is GE Aviation, so the large plane engines that you'll find on Boeing jets and so forth. And they're using IoT and AI to build a digital model of an aircraft. And in using the data from those sources, they can analyze history, health, and efficiency of an aircraft and its components. That's how they built the 90X engine that's used on the new 777Xs. They're massive engines, but they used a lot of AI to help design those based on a number of simulated flights for a type of airplane. In the healthcare field, there's a number of them as well, but I've narrowed it down to 3 of them. Novartis. Microsoft has partnered with a company called Novartis to help accelerate drug discovery, as well as the development to unprecedented speed by placing the power of AI directly in the hands of researchers. And by leveraging AI to rationalize over immense amounts of unstructured data, researchers have the ability to quickly synthesize relevant information for the formulation of a new drug in a process that has historically taken up to a decade. So being able to bring, using AI, being able to bring new medicines to the market much, much faster and be able to work with them quicker. KeyPro is a text analytics, healthcare-specific AI component that's part of Microsoft's Azure Cognitive Services. And really, it's there as a way to help and assist healthcare providers review and analyze and accurately extract essential information from large case histories. So looking at things like, okay, what kind of diseases, what kind of medicines, what kind of support is this, these types of people had. And the last one is, I'm going to say this slowly, at Genomics Seeks Lab, And basically what this is a Norwegian company, I think. And this is a cloud-based high-performance computing platform for DNA and RNA sequencing research. And it's using AI to power things like genome analysis and could help speed up development of things like precise medical solutions for COVID-19 vaccines and treatment and whatnot. Under governments use a lot of AI now. Axelon uses AI to help cities manage traffic, boost safety, and improve urban life. They will use platforms to gather IoT data and create models of a city, and then uses reinforcement learning to test a range of things like traffic solutions and identify optimal strategies. One of the things that you'll notice in some cities is that you always seem to hit every red light or you hit every green light. A tool like this is used as a way to calculate when lights should change in each direction, so you can reduce the amount of stop and start traffic in large city centers and so forth. The National Audiovisual Archive of Hungary, or NAVA, uses cognitive services to accurately classify millions of images, as well as sound files that will serve as the country's long-term collective memory bank. So basically, it's their digital archive of the history of Hungary. And Anglian Water, which is based in the UK, and Anglian Water uses AI tools in Microsoft Azure to help understand the behavior of a reservoir under different conditions, including things like time of day, seasonality, meteorological changes, evaporation rates, and so forth. It's a tool like this, as an example, where Los Angeles County has started putting black tennis balls, or like they're light plastic tennis balls, but they're black. And really what they do is they help to reduce evaporation in water facilities, because it prevents the water from heating up due to direct sunlight. So the black balls, they're not going to hurt anything. They're not going to go into the water system, but they're a way to reflect the sun's energy away from the water and helps to reduce evaporation. From a financial point of view, Nedbank is created a chatbot called the Electronic Value Assistant, or EVA. And this is used to offer quick and easy self-service options. EVA now handles 80% of the financial institution's inquiries at a fraction of the cost of having brick and mortar banks. In Europe, UK and whatnot, most banks, for the most part, are now all electronic. And a lot of them aren't necessarily full-on banks. They're, financial tools or financial companies, but they're not necessarily a bank. I know in the UK, you have to go through a lot of rigor to become a bank, an online bank, but all of these things do follow standard banking rules, like, insurance deposit policies and whatnot. Canadian company, TD Securities, developed XVA, and this is a way to do price complex derivative products, and it gives them more time to focus on client services and solutions, and so AI does the building of the products in the background. And Moneris, which is a bank machine tool, using artificial intelligence. It's helped to increase its ability to spot security incidents, including in a reduction of fraud. So people trying to use fraudulent bank cards or skimmed bank cards or that sort of thing. And then lastly, something called AI for Good. This is sort of using AI to help improve society or the planet. And the two that I pulled out was one called Zooniverse. Zooniverse is cool because it helps engage people in science using crowd-based research projects. And they use Microsoft Azure to help organize the data for projects across a number of disciplines, including astronomy, zoology, cancer research, climate science, and arts and humanities. So there's a very large data set that's used to do analysis of people's stuff. And lastly, one called the Ocean Cleanup. I quite like this one. This helps use machine learning to identify plastic pollution in things like rivers and obviously in the oceans, and simulates how it moves in the ocean. So if you think about the big trash, the big plastic vortex that's in the Pacific Ocean, it's tools like this that is used to figure out how those float and maneuver around the middle of the oceans. All right, so before we continue on to the next section, let's take a short break, and we'll come back in a few minutes.
Sure, we are now going to take a 5-minute break, but before we do that, we are going to launch a quick poll that we want to invite you to participate in. Doing so helps us know how we can better serve you by telling us who might be interested in more information or in taking some additional training. In addition, we have a lot more informative webinars coming up, so please go to netcomlearning.com/webinars in order to register.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's pick up from where we left off before the break. So those are some examples of how systems can be used, or AI can be used in different applications in different environments, and be able to make the world better, make your business better, and just make things better and faster overall. So the next thing I want to take a quick look at is how do I actually develop AI, right? Well, AI luckily is not something that you have to build from scratch. There are a number of tools that are already built. There are APIs that are created. And so from a building point of view, or from a construction point of view, all you really need to do and worry about is actually being able to communicate with those APIs and use those APIs and the tools that are already provided. And really, if you think about how most of the online artificial intelligence tools that you're using, like ChatGPT or Bard or DALL-E or any of those other sorts of stuff, they're all really just interfaces that are using APIs to connect to OpenAI, right? So OpenAI is really the back end that's doing all of the work, and all these other sorts of tools are just really interfaces that have very specific functionality related to what it's trying to do. So DALL-E does images, ChatGPT, we know that one. Bard is basically much like ChatGPT. We can now integrate OpenAI into Bing in Edge browsers, so there's a number of different functionalities that we can do. It's just a matter of knowing what it is that we want the application to do, knowing the API that we need to use to make that happen, as well as being able to make the programming connections to work with it. But a couple of other things that you need to understand as a developer is that you need to use AI responsibly, okay? As I said, I do a lot of stuff with AI and intellectual property, and it is amazing how much people really don't know about how much AI works, especially when you're going out and writing a paper, right? Let's say that you write an article and you use OpenAI or any of the AI tools to help you write that paper, but you then claim it's yours as original production. And if I went and took that paper and ran it through a plagiarism checker, it might come back as being 70% plagiarized, right? Well, there's a whole bunch of ethical things that need to be concerned with that. And so as a developer, you need to be able to say, okay, am I using this AI tool in a proper way? Am I being responsible with it? Am I being reckless with it? Could it harm people, and so forth? And then lastly, it's also possible as a developer to help deploy mission-critical AI solutions to keep your business and other sorts of things up and running and functional, right? So AI is a really good tool to work with IoT devices. So if you're using an MRI scanner, you'd have an IoT device attached to it that would let you know if the magnets are overheating or if the magnets are starting to wear out or whatever, because without magnets, the MRI is useless, right? And you can't power off an MRI machine. You can't just go in and flick a switch and turn it off. They have to be left running, or the magnets don't work very well, and their lifespan will get that much shorter. So you do need to make sure that when you're using certain types of devices that you maintain them correctly. And using AI is a great way to help you maintain mission critical devices and solutions from going down. As a part of the development, though, we also need to look at, Azure Cloud is not free. Let's just, it's not a free thing. You do have to pay for it. It does take up resources. So, like everything that you would do on-prem, you do need to make sure that the workloads that are existing in Azure AI are optimized, right? We want to be able to get information out of them as quickly as possible. We want to make sure that we tweak the resources and the configurations and the tools so that you maximize efficiency and we minimize cost, because the longer it takes for something to execute, the more it's going to cost, because you're using a higher level of CPU cycles and memory and processor and all the rest of it. So some of the things that we could do in terms of general best practices to optimize AI workloads include things like choosing the right VM sizes and types, right? Making sure that we're using NC, ND, or NV series virtual machines for AI workloads, because these generally are going to be optimized for GPU intensive tasks. right? And this is primarily when you're doing data processing or analytics. And if you're doing a lot of heavy data processing and analytics, you might want to use a D or E series computer. Next is scaling the resources dynamically so that things can auto scale up and back down. Optimize your storage. Try and do things in parallel, so parallelize and distribute workloads across multiple virtual environments. Optimize your data pipelines. Use hyperparameter tuning. Optimize model inference, so try and use things like quantization and pruning to help reduce the size of your model for faster inference times. And also try potentially using things like Azure Kubernetes services to help you deploy models using real-time inferencing and scalable real-time inferences. Monitor and analyze costs, obviously using the tools to help monitor it. And then lastly, efficient data transfers, regularly updating the system, leveraging Azure's AI services, and then making sure your security and testing and development environments are configured properly. So there's a number of different things that we have available to us to be able to make sure that the system that we're running and that we're executing against is optimized as much as possible. There are a number of security components that Microsoft follows. This is just a list of the top 10 of them. And so here's a number of different compliance components that they follow, a lot of NIST ones and whatnot. And so we do have the ability to go and validate those. So if we go to here, we can see different Azure policy regulatory components. And so we can actually go through and read up on the AI services and their security components and how they compare to different regulatory requirements. So we can look at everything. We can look at all of the different policy numbers and the documents. And these are ones that have been passed, right? So we do have the ability to go and check all of those out. As well, there are 4 things that we can do to make sure that we have some best practices around security and compliance. Obviously, be ethical, right? From an ethical perspective, AI should be fair and inclusive, be accountable for its decisions, and not discriminate or hinder different races, disabilities, and backgrounds. It should be accountable, right? We need to make sure that it's basically going to be responsible. We need to have inclusiveness. We need to make sure that it's reliable. We need to make sure that it's explainable. We need to have fairness, transparency, privacy and security, and a number of other things. So really what it's coming down to is that we need to make sure that the system will allow us to expand how we're looking at the features and components that make up the system. If we look at it from an ethical point of view, we're looking at it from the idea of responsible AI. So we have efficacy on one side, explainability on the other side, and sort of the reliability and safety is the Venn diagram of where they cross, right? So the ethical part is the accountability and inclusiveness of the data, and under the explainable part, we have the fairness, transparency, and privacy and security of the data. And those 2 things will merge and move together to give us a reliable and safe environment for us to be working in. Here we can see a trusted AI framework, right? So we've got training, operationalize, and inferencing of data. But we have an AI designer, an AI admin, and an AI business consumer. And all 3 of those sorts of levels of people have different components or parts of the whole AI framework, right? So from an AI designer, they're going to be building the deployments. They're going to be using the interpretation and enhancement models. They're going to build their AI algorithms, and they're going to follow the ethical AI guidelines. An AI admin is going to be responsible for optimization and performance. configuring model monitoring, AI security, and governance. And the business consumer is the one who is going to be part of the feedback loop. They're going to do the predictions, they're going to follow the security and compliance, and they're going to feedback to tell you how the system is functioning, right? So this whole idea is what's referred to as a persona-centric AI framework. And it's going to be a way for us to be responsible and understand the way that the metrics should be used and that the way the system should be used properly. There is a number of security solutions that make up AI. So we have, as far as AI security, we have data security, model security, infrastructure security, and access control. And we need to make sure that those things ensure that the data is proper, that the data is secured from unauthorized access, that the systems, the platforms themselves are secured, and that only authorized personnel have access to the different AI systems. From a compliance point of view, we're looking at things like data privacy regulations, depending upon where you are, fairness and bias models to make sure that everything is does not perpetuate or exacerbate, societal biases. Help with transparency and explainability. For certain industries like finance, we have record keeping and things like how did we decide whether or not somebody should be given a loan or not, and auditability, making sure that the decisions and data that the models are using can be audited by third parties. There are a number of best practices, so things like doing regular audits to make sure that we can identify vulnerabilities. Just because it's a machine learning AI tool does not mean that it's not infallible. So we do need to make sure that the data that we're recording and that we're using is free of vulnerabilities. It has no non-compliance configurations, and that it fulfills the requirements audits and the security audits that are needed. We obviously need to make sure that everybody that's using it, everywhere from design and development and deployment and maintenance, are properly trained, both in security and compliance best practices, not only for your organization, but government rules and industry rules. How you're going to do incident responses for potential security breaches, and open source scrutiny. This is, a lot of the libraries are open source, and so you do need to do your validation and your due diligence to make sure that they're from trusted sources, that they're regularly updated, and that they can be trusted and valuable. And lastly, we need to look at some of the challenges that Azure AI has in terms of the capabilities that the system is going to be using. First of all, everything changes, right? One of the downsides behind technology is that the laws don't keep up. And so until somebody does something wrong, the laws just sort of stay there, or they don't apply at all. And so we need to make sure that the evolving technologies fulfill whatever the evolving regulatory landscape is. And so as it says, as AI becomes more prevalent, regulations that will govern its use will continue to evolve, which means that we need to stay compliant, and that's going to take effort. It's not just, install it, run it, and you're done. In terms of trade-offs, there might be some trade-offs between accuracy and explainability of a model and the security and usability of a model. But that's, again, if you want to prevent bias and that sort of stuff, sometimes that's a requirement. And lastly is the complexity. AI solutions are not simple. They are complex, and they can be very complex. And that makes it challenging. It makes it challenging because you need to make sure that the security and the compliance that you're using covers all of the different features and areas in terms of the complexity of the system. And, AI solutions, especially security and compliance, can't be just an afterthought. They should be an integral part of the development lifecycle of artificial intelligence. And so incorporating these considerations from the outset can help prevent costly and damaging issues down the line. So it's very important that you keep those items in context and keep them in mind. So that's the contents for the slide deck. Now, we keep talking about education and knowledge and security and compliance and all the rest of it, but how do we know, how do we learn that? Well, Netcom has several hands-on, in-person, instructor-led courses, and even some online courses, where you can learn this technology and learn the components about security and organizational use and so forth as part of your training process. So when you're taking a Microsoft training course, you get certified in a specific technology, in this particular case, artificial intelligence, there is a number of different benefits that you can gain out of the certification. First of all, it helps you stand out. Taking a Microsoft exam, people might think, oh, you're just taking an exam, but it does help. It can help you increase your salary. There have been reports of people increasing of upwards of 25% in terms of what they can earn. It also allows you the ability to increase your employability. It gives you the opportunity to go to different types of careers, different employers, increase your salary, increase your position in the world, go from, desk side support to, director of IT, that's possible. But it does help you increase your employability. And Microsoft has included the idea of the badges. So this has become a sort of a big thing in the social media world. But everybody being able to prove that they've acquired and achieved something. Once you've completed the training, you get a badge, and those badges can be used for social media platforms as a way for employers to discover you based on the types of certifications you have that you might post to things like Twitter or LinkedIn and whatnot. And it's a way for you to verify that Microsoft actually has given you that accomplishment, that you've actually done what it is that you've said you completed. And so the employers can go back and look at the badge and instantly verify that, yes, you do have the skills that you say that you do, whether it's for cloud or AI or identity management or whatever it happens to be. There is a book that's available for you as part of your event handout, and it's called The Win-Win of Certification. And really what it's talking about, and it's a good book, and really what it's talking about is how do you do better, or how does your business do better when you have well-trained staff? As it's possible that if you have people that know how to solve problems and know how to implement software, that you can save your organization money and time because they'll be more productive. And as it says, a well-trained and certified team can be upwards of 20% more productive than other staff. You don't have to wait as long for resolutions. You can solve problems yourselves, and you have a better way of being able to troubleshoot different issues that might exist in your platform. But the book goes through and looks at different stats and facts about how certification can help both the employee and the organization that they work for in 4 different ways. First of all, by showing how training improves timeliness, insight, and business impact, and how it can make life better for users. Next of all, it will look at how those sorts of certifications can increase both your personal and career benefits in terms of being able to increase your salaries and your position and so forth, which also then leads directly to higher pay via continuous learning. And then lastly, how certification improves productivity, efficiency, and job satisfaction. So as far as certification classes and training classes, it's recommended that you always start with the fundamentals. And that would be AI 900, which is the Azure AI Fundamentals course. And once you've passed that exam, it gives you a couple of different directions that you have the ability to go down. If you're going to be doing a development structure and you're sort of a code person or a development person, then AZ 204 is the course for you, which is developing solutions for Azure. If you want to stick specifically to the AI track, then you would do AI 102, which is more of the designing and implementing an Azure AI solution. And so, again, it depends on which sort of career path you decide to go to, but there is training for for a number of different paths that you wish to take. As far as the training itself, all of the training is done based on instructor-led classroom training, and it's all role-based. So the way the training courses are set up, if you've never taken a Microsoft course before, is that it's sort of about 50% lecture and 50% hands-on. You'll get an instructor who has, some real-world experience, and they can use real-world examples of how the technology can be used. If I am your instructor, I will bore you with a million stories, because I have a million stories of different things and ways that stuff is done, because I am not just a trainer, I'm also in the industry, so I have real-world experience for that. But you also get access to virtual lab spaces, of which you get access for 180 days after the course is done, so you can go back and redo lab exercises and play around and try things so you can master your skills, as well as prep for the exam as well. You also get 90-day access to the recording, so all of the training sessions are recorded, and so you'll get access through your student portal to those recordings. You'll have free 24/7 access to the portal, the Learner portal. And if there is an opportunity and you didn't do very well in a course and you think you might need it, there are opportunities for free repeats. And if you do need help, there is 24/7 support that you can get access to through the Netcom student portal. So briefly, some of the benefits of certifications and renewals of certifications. Microsoft a couple of years ago has implemented renewals, and it's just a way to make sure that everybody on a yearly basis has kept up to date with the technologies. They are free. They're completed on the Microsoft Learn site. So you don't have to pay for the exams. You don't have to go and be proctored. They're usually about 25 questions. They're open book, and you get roughly 45 minutes to complete the questions. But it's just a way to validate that the skills are maintained to the latest technologies and that you're updated with all of the latest data for your job role. And again, as it says, you can renew your certification without having to pay or pass any exams. If you hold any of the valid role-based exams, you'll get notified 6 months prior to the exam renewal date, and then you'll get an email. And so you can write it as many times as you need to within that 6 months and get your certification up to date. Now, if your exam expires February 1st, you get your email 6 months prior to that. Let's say that you do your renewal exam in October. You actually are good for another year and 6 months. So your renewal date won't be October. It's still February 1st, but you've gotten through that phase. So if you write your renewal exams shortly after you get your 6 months notification, you in theory get a little bit extra time with your certification being valid. If for whatever reason you don't get it renewed prior to the expiry date, then you'll have to write the full exam again, and you'll have to do a proctored exam and all that sort of stuff. So it does, it is a bit more of an effort, but try and keep on the renewals, and you won't have to worry about it. I have 14 different exams and certifications. It was because I teach so much. It's really busy trying to keep on top of all of those renewals every year, because just when you think you've got one done, it's like, oh, you've got 3 more due. It's like, oh man. So, but it is a good thing to keep on top of, and it's a very simple way to keep your certification valid year over year. And as I said, it takes 45 minutes, 20 questions, doesn't take much time at all. So, with that being said, sign up for a course, get trained, get certified, get recognized, and implement the systems in your organizations. So thank you very much, and I will turn it back over to the moderator.
Thank you, Brent. That was very informative. I know everyone is looking forward to the Q&A session, so go ahead and start putting your questions into the questions panel. And while you do that, I would like to give the presentation rights over to Sagnik, our vendor manager, to introduce you to our promotions and webinar-related courses.
Thank you, Tracy. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, you are audible and we can see your screen.
Great. I'm excited to announce that all the participants in today's masterclass have been given exclusive free access to AI 102, Designing and Implementing in Azure AI Solutions. The best part is you also get to claim your digital achievement badges on Microsoft Learn to celebrate your data and AI skilling journey. Issued by Microsoft, these badges can help you highlight your newly acquired skills and boost your career potential. So let's quickly take a look at the steps that you need to follow. On your chat, you'd find the link to this particular page that is currently visible on my screen, highlighting thank you for joining our masterclass, Maximizing AI Potential with Microsoft Cloud. I'll just give a few moments for everyone to come to this page. You would find the link on the chat. Wonderful. I hope everyone is here. As you can see on this landing page, you would find over here the section that says unlock your exclusive Netcom Learning Advantage, start your Microsoft data and AI skilling journey for free. So as promised, all the participants today would be getting access to the AI 102 courseware, as well as digital achievement trophies and badges issued by Microsoft to celebrate your learning accomplishments. And the steps to follow to unlock these achievements and courseware is really simple. Actually, it's just three simple steps that you need to follow. So if you just scroll down a little further on this page, you can see the step one is to sign into your Microsoft Learn account using your personal or professional Outlook or Hotmail account. So once you click on either this button on Get Started or the button over here, you'd be redirected to Microsoft Learn. And if you are not signed in already, you would be seeing a prompt similar to this as visible on this side of the screen. On the right side of the screen over here, you can see the screenshot with the sign in prompt. You have to use your personal or professional Microsoft account credentials over here. In case you don't have a Microsoft account, you can select the create one option, as you can see highlighted in red here, no account, create one. Simply you need to click on this link. It takes barely 2 minutes for you to complete setting up your new account, and then you would be good to go. In case you're already signed in, all you need to do is straight away go to step two, right? In case you're not signed in, complete your credentials, fill in your credentials, click on next, and then the next step, in the next step, you'd be seeing this particular screen wherein a prompt will be shown on your Microsoft Learn profile, asking you to redeem your code. Now, you don't have to worry about filling in the code manually. It would be auto-populated. You don't need to change it. You just simply need to click on the redeem button over here. Simply click on that, and then you'd be proceeding to step three, wherein you'd be seeing the prompt. We have added your achievements to your profile. And then you'd have the option to click on the view profile, wherein you can see the newly added badges, as well as the training courseware related to AI 102 added to your Microsoft Learn profile. Be proud of your achievements and celebrate it by sharing the digital trophy on your LinkedIn profile. And don't forget to tag Netcom Learning and Microsoft on your posts for maximum visibility and reach. Now let's quickly take a look at the handout that we have in place for everyone. So as you can see on my screen, this is the event handout that you all have received. Once again, we thank you all for taking out the time and joining our masterclass today. As part of this handout, you'd see the content section wherein the different sections within the document have been listed here, and everything is hyperlinked. So you can quickly use these links to jump to the specific section of the document. Before we proceed, it's worth mentioning that Netcom Learning, we are the proud winners of the Microsoft Partner of the Year Award for 2 years in a row. So as we say, the legacy continues. In 2022, we were the Partner of the Year worldwide, and in 2023, we were the Partner of the Year for United States. And we are also a Microsoft Cloud Solutions partner. That means that we have capabilities across all the 6 solution areas recognized by Microsoft. A few more things about us. We are in the training industry for over 25 years now, having serviced over 80% of the Fortune 1000 companies, serviced 100 plus US military bases. Overall, we have trained 1 million plus professionals across 36,000 plus unique enterprises, and we enjoy a 96% recommendation rate from our customers. All our trainings on Microsoft are delivered by instructors that are certified and authorized by Microsoft, and our overall instructor pool stands at about 3,200 plus certified professionals. We are your one-stop solution for all your corporate upskilling needs with official training across every major technology and business solution provider. So as we can see over here, we are an authorized training partner for all the industry leaders across Microsoft, AWS, Cisco, CompTIA, PMI, EC Council, and others. Now, within this handout, you would also find this particular page wherein you can find the session recording. You can use the link to access the recording for today's session and revisit the concepts that were covered in today's masterclass. On this page, you'd find the link to access your complimentary courseware and the digital badges. The same landing page that we covered at the beginning of my presentation. You can find the direct access link here, and the link to which is also available on your chat on GoToWebinar. Also, all the participants will be given access to Netcom 365. It is our student portal that includes a lot of features and resources for you to take advantage of to supercharge your skilling journey. All you need to do if you're accessing it and activating it for the first time is set up your password, and then you'd be good to go. We highly recommend everyone to explore our learning portal to take full advantage of all your skilling resources. Now let's quickly take a look at some of the latest offers on Microsoft trainings and certifications. First up, we have the Microsoft Quick Start program, which is applicable across the entire portfolio, encompassing Azure, Security, Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, and Power Platform. It is truly the best-in-class exclusive enterprise discount offering on your end-to-end Microsoft training across the official portfolio. The pricing model is quite simple and straightforward. If you have a team, if whether you are a large organization or a small organization, and you have a team to train across departments or within the same department, we have two options for you depending on your team size. If you are looking to train more than 15 learners, you would be getting a flat discounted pricing of $300 per day per learner. And of course, as the number of days for the particular training increases, the amount also increases, but you get significant savings on this. If you are having a smaller team that is 14 learners or less, then you still are entitled to a $400 discounted flat pricing per day per learner. This really accounts to huge savings when it comes to large scale training. So we highly recommend everyone to get in touch with us, explore the offering by clicking on the link provided in this handout. And all your trainings can also be customized based on the specific projects and workloads that you and your team, your organization is working on. And our industry specific subject matter expertise encompasses a wide range of verticals, as you can see over here, from banking and financial services, healthcare, federal and state and local government, to education, energy, manufacturing, retail, consumer goods, and more. Next up, we have the Microsoft value of certification. We highly recommend, along with Microsoft, that whenever you are investing in your skilling journey, be it in terms of your time and effort or your training funds, it's always recommended to secure your skills by getting the validation and approval from Microsoft. So what it does is certification from a decision maker perspective. You want to ensure that the ROI on the training is guaranteed. So this is like a quality control on the training investments that you make for your team. So once your team completes the skilling, they can take the associated certification exam to make sure that they are eligible and they qualify under the standards that have been set by Microsoft on the related technologies. And if you are a learner and a professional, it is a great career booster for you, right? The credential of being Microsoft certified is industry recognized, and these are industry aligned to specific job roles, and these demonstrate the real world skills required to solve real world business challenges. So these badges add a lot of value to the credibility of your profile. It enhances your job prospects and career growth. For a limited time, we have a 10% exclusive discount on all Microsoft certification exam vouchers going on right now. We highly recommend, if you are considering taking training or getting certified, this is the right time for you to do so. The link has been provided on this particular page of your handout. We highly recommend you to avail the same. Also, you'd find that if you have a team, if you are a big organization or a small organization, having a team that you're looking to train, our 2-hour private group training demo is also a great option for you as the next step. It is free of cost, as we say, you can see over here, and it is customizable as per your needs. So rather than a public delivery, which was the format of today's session, you're going to get a private group training wherein our instructor is going to connect with you, understand your specific requirements, and our learning consultants are going to map out your specific needs and accordingly tailor the skilling plan that makes sense for you and your business. So these training demos are provide a great value because these are customizable. All the trainings are delivered by our top rated trainers, and you get a complimentary skilling plan consultation, allowing you to get clarity on which specific courses are needed to be taken by your team. Next up, we have the Netcom Plus Learner subscription. This is our flagship subscription offering with providing great economic value on a budget, right? It is a subscription model. It is valid for 12 months. And what you get as part of it is a highly curated, extensive subscription bundle that encompasses top vendors like Microsoft, AWS, Cisco, CompTIA, and more for 12 months. There are 3 plans. The most popular being the platinum subscription that we have at $2,999 per learner per year. The best advantage is you get access to 400 plus e-learning modules and 100 plus virtual instructor-led courses, the combined value of which run easily into thousands and thousands of dollars, all for the economic price of $2,999 for an entire year. And if you have a team and of more than 10 learners that you want to enroll, you'd also be entitled for additional discounts on top of it. So we highly recommend everyone to explore our Netcom Plus subscription. And in case you are a large organization, you are a multi-shore firm with multiple divisions and your workforce spread across geographies, or you have multiple business units within the same organization, the skilling needs kind of get complicated in those scenarios, right? But how do you manage your training funds in that case? And that's why we have the Learning Passport, which provides a flexible team training package. Basically, you park all your training funds with us for 12 months. And within these 12 months, you get exceptional value on the funds that you invest, right? Up to 100% increase of your fund value is what you can experience with our Learning Passport. And these funds are flexible. That means you can use it to train irrespective of the individual that you want to opt in for. A simple distinction with the Netcom Plus is that it is mapped to the specific learner and it is only valid for that learner. But in Learning Passport, you get that additional flexibility that for one particular course, you can pick one particular learner, and for another, you can use your same training dollars for another course. This is basically giving you unlimited access to our entire authorized training portfolio of 4,000 plus official courses. So we highly recommend you to check this out if you have such skilling requirements, especially keeping in mind that the end of the year is coming, and we are aware that organizations need to finalize their training budgets. If they don't use it, they kind of lose it. So this is an ideal solution for you guys to park your training funds and make sure you get the ultimate value all year round. Now we will take a look at the recommended courses that we have. Over here, you can see the courses that are related to today's topic have been mapped here, divided by fundamentals and role-based. So we highly recommend everyone to click on these links. All of these are hyperlinked. Pick the item that you want to explore, and you'd be redirected to the official documentation that we have on these particular courses. Also, please note that all the courses that are delivered by Netcom Learning are delivered by subject matter experts. You get additional perks like 180 days access to virtual labs wherever applicable. Also, you get access to 90 days to the class recordings to revisit the concepts. You get full access to our Netcom 365 portal, as well as you can repeat the classes free of cost within a specified duration if you want to revisit or you couldn't attend the first time. We also have a couple of free resources mapped here, like our upcoming free event and a blog. We highly recommend you to explore those as well. With that, I'd like to thank everyone. Do follow us on our social handles, and we hope to see you soon once again on one of our events and classes. Thank you, everyone. Over to you, Trace.
Thanks so much for guiding us through that information, Sagnik. And now we're going to go ahead and jump right into our question and answer session. First question of the day is, how does OpenAI impact Azure AI?
So OpenAI and Azure AI are two different tools. However, OpenAI uses Azure as the platform to store the data that it uses. And so if you have access, as I mentioned during the presentation, to OpenAI, you've purchased a subscription or they've given you one, you would use it much the same way as you would use the other tools. The data is stored in Azure on the data platforms. It uses processors from virtual machines on the platform. But the way the tool executes and the amount of data that it has access to is much different than the way that the Azure AI tools work and has access to. So OpenAI has a data store that already has data in it that you can access, whereas Azure AI is stuff that you have to do from scratch yourself.
Let's take another one. Is Azure AI included in standard Azure tenant licenses?
Yes. So the basic things, machine learning, cognitive services and stuff, those are included for free. You do have access to them. If you have very large workloads and you do need a lot of computing power, you will obviously have to pay higher bills every month for your Azure subscription. But generally speaking, those tools are included as your base, included with your base Azure tenant.
And we have time for one last question in today's session. How can I integrate AI features into other applications?
So there's a couple of different ways. If you use Copilot, which is part of the Microsoft platform now, Copilot takes advantage of a lot of the Azure features. But if you're doing it as a regular developer, such as let's say you're building a bot or you're doing some sort of analysis on data, it's just accessing the APIs through the programming API and having your secure key being able to do the connection. As long as you have access to that API, you should be able to integrate AI tools into any application that you're writing.
Once again, I want to remind you that as you leave the session today, you will be presented with a short survey. We would like to request for you to help us by taking a quick moment to participate in that survey. Your feedback really helps us understand your learning experience as we are constantly looking at how we can improve our future sessions. The survey answers are measured on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 representing outstanding and 1 representing poor. We want to thank all of you for joining us today, and if you do come up with any additional questions, feel free to send them to webinar@netcomlearning.com at any time. We hope that you found today's webinar informative, and we look forward to seeing you back here with us soon. Feel free to tell your friends and colleagues about our webinars and other courses. Have a great day, everyone.